A stunning setback for a man who says he wants to be president. Newt Gingrich's entire senior staff walking away from his presidential campaign. Gingrich already was facing an uphill battle, but he says he's still in the race despite this exodus. Let's talk about it with Chip Saltzman. He was campaign manager of Mike Huckabee's 2008 presidential campaign. He is currently a spokesman for Republican Congressman Chuck Fleischmann of Tennessee. Newt says he's going to go on. He's going to rely on the strength and vitality and so forth of the American people to propel him, he says, into the White House. It's a pretty tough road to hoe right now, isn't it?
John, it's going to be a very tough road to hoe, and so far, from my understanding of presidential campaigns, Newt has not run what we call a textbook presidential campaign. He had a few bumps in the road along the way, and this massive exodus is going to make it very hard for him to continue. And there's lots of things that we don't know yet. You know, we've heard rumors that Newt wanted to run a different kind of campaign, a part-time campaign. We've heard those kind of things before from candidates that don't last very long. You know, was he raising money? A lot of times when you see senior staff leaving, it's because they're probably not going to get paid next month, and they're going to go on and look for the next one. But at the end of the day, this spells trouble with a capital T for Newt Gingrich, and I'm just not sure how he stays in the race.
You've run a presidential campaign. How can you run part-time? I mean, it seems to me from everything I've seen that it's an 18-hour-a-day proposition at least.
It is, and it's 10, 12 events a day. It's traveling all over the country. I mean, I know he just got back from this 2-week cruise in Greece. I'm not sure Governor Huckabee got 2 days off during the 18 months or the 12 months that we were running for president. So you just don't have time to do those kind of things. If it's a constant grind, it's a constant movement, and you don't have time to kind of maybe go do a debate here and then maybe go do a TV show there. It's about you've got to be raising money, you've got to be seeing supporters, you've got to be going to Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina. You can't run a presidential campaign, you know, out of your house.
John McCain had a pretty big shakeup in his presidential campaign, and he survived, went on to win the nomination.
No question. One major difference, he was a sitting United States senator with an infrastructure and a staff, and he had one state that he still was doing very well in New Hampshire. And so he went from a national frontrunner to running a one-state campaign for president, in which that's what he had done 8 years earlier. He knew what he had to do. He still had the volunteers. He had the supporters in the state that stayed with him. His blow-up was a lot more about financial blow-up. They were going to raise $50 million, and they started spending a budget like they were going to raise $50 million, and they raised $25 million, and they were broke. It wasn't a philosophical difference like you're seeing in the Gingrich campaign where people are going, we're just on 2 separate paths. This guy doesn't want to run for president full time. We don't know what he's going to do. It's a completely different thing. And like I said, John McCain was a sitting U.S. senator with an infrastructure to do the blocking and tackling of everything, like who's going to get his airline tickets to go to New Hampshire next week. Right.
Well, you know, Newt also seemed to shoot himself in the foot, according to the viewpoint of many analysts, early in the game when he criticized the Medicare overhaul that Congressman Paul Ryan, the chairman of the Budget Committee, has put forward, which has the support of virtually every Republican member of Congress.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, the comments that the former speakers made along the way have got a lot of people scratching their head. I mean, you know, as we look back on Newt Gingrich's career, we see a guy that has been a very smart policy thinker, somebody that's really led this country in policy ideas. But if you look at his campaign the last couple of months, you're scratching your heads going, what has this guy been thinking the last couple of months? Because this is not the same Newt Gingrich that we knew from even 5 or 10 years ago. And criticizing a very conservative budget's probably not the best way to get started in a very conservative Republican primary process.
Let's step away from Newt for a minute. I mean, with these jobs numbers that are out this week, the unemployment numbers that are out this week, a lot of people have taken a look at this Republican field and said, you know, despite President Obama's problems, they have said this field is not particularly strong and would have trouble beating this president in a head-to-head matchup. What do you think about that, Chuck? Chip?
Well, I'm sure that's what a lot of the Democrats are thinking, and that's wishful thinking. Remember, we were very excited about how weak the field was in 1992 when the nominee for the Democrats was Bill Clinton. The Democrats were very excited about how weak the field was in 1980 when we nominated a former actor named Ronald Reagan to be our nominee. Sometimes you got to be careful what you wish for because you might get it. I think we've got some outstanding candidates that really have to they've got to prove themselves. They've got to get in these early states. Somebody's going to catch that momentum. Somebody's going to catch that wave. And I think they're going to be very formidable against Barack Obama come next November. But right now it's easy to say, oh, it's a weak field. Nobody knows them. But we were about everybody, you know, this time 4 years earlier.
You know, a guy that you used to run a campaign for, Mike Huckabee, people still aren't counting him out. Have you heard any whispers along those lines from the former governor?
I emailed him this morning, and he's in a very nice place today, and he's in Alaska, and it's 53 degrees. I don't think he's checking on those emails with Sarah Palin. I think he's got some other business up there. I would encourage him to take a second look at it, because I think he would be an unbelievable nominee, and I think he could do really well and beat President Obama. But that's been a very personal decision for him and his family, and my guess is he doesn't run. But I will probably encourage him another time or two and see what happens.
All right, Chip Saltzman, we'll see what comes of that. Chip, thanks very much.
Great. John, thank you.